Well, hey, I'm Travis with High Impact Leadership, and I'm here with good friend Dave Goodall. And met Dave through Kaizen Coaching. We ended up in the same place at the same time, January of last year, down in San Diego at NLP Practitioner Training. And Dave has gone on to go to Master Prac and is implementing a lot of those skills and talents in his own business. So I'd love to hear how your next step past NLP Prac training, which Laura and I did, and how it's positively affected you. I'd love to hear floor is yours, go.
Yeah, so again, my name is Dave Goodall, and I just rebranded myself with a company called Tap Mental, tapping into your mental strengths to complete your linguistic language patterns to provide a positive impact for your personal life and your business life. And so Master Prac's made a huge difference. As you know, we've met, probably 6, 7, I don't know, we've been in conversation probably for almost a year, 10 months or so.
Yeah.
I got certified in coaching 2 years ago, and NLP Master Prac was a game changer for me. In high school, I failed English every year. For whatever reason, English was hard. I was in summer school every year. I was not a good student. I loved to learn. If you gave me a device, I would take it apart to figure out how it works. And I know you're a mechanical guy too. It's how does this work? But language, it was untouchable. I couldn't grasp the concepts. And ironically, if you would have told me 20 years ago that I'd be getting a master's in linguistics, I'd have been like, really?
What?
But once I started recognizing the patterns, because I've been in the IT industry for 20 years and it's all pattern driven. It's all, I went and got my engineering degree, mathematical, calculus, algorithms. I started to see that in language patterns, there's algorithms and there's patterns and stuff. And how it impacted my coaching practice was just really listening to the words that people speak and being curious and asking the definitions of the words. So, you learned in prac, when someone speaks a word like the word love, I know what love means to me.
What's it mean to you?
What's it mean to you? And what happened is we all pre-assume that when someone says the word love, it's I go to my memory, my emotion, I know what he's talking about, but I really don't.
Yeah.
Someone could be sharing with me a love story, but it was someone that was sexually abused, that was told that they were loved after that abuse had taken place. So their version of love could mean something totally different.
Horrific and negative.
Horrific and negative, right?
Yeah.
My wife, she heard her whole life, be grateful, be grateful, be grateful. And it was beating her head. So when I have a conversation with her, I was like, well, where's your gratitude? And it's F your gratitude. Because her definition of gratitude was shame driven, right? So there's this underlying. So I guess for me, just on a high level, just being more curious about people's definitions of the words, listening to the language patterns, getting more clarity around that. Because, as we all know, the conscious mind, subconscious mind, a lot of people aren't aware of it, but 90 to 95% of our day is on autopilot.
Yes. Now, I'll share a little experience with you. Not long ago, I was in a coaching session and talking to a guy, and he was going to have a tough conversation with one of his staff. And it turns out that this staff person was going to end up being terminated is what it looked like. And I was just talking to him, it's what's the dialogue? And he was mentioning words like, the way I see it, the way I hear it, the way I feel it. And when I dug deeper and asked, what is he actually saying to you? And he's like, the way I see it. It's do you understand that what he's referring to is he's a visual guy and you're telling him auditory clues? And so this is my limited practice in NLP.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, I said, just try to change your dialogue and maybe writing something down in difference and use visual words. And he was out of his skin happy because their relationship has turned around completely. It's a happy, productive staff environment. And I know that's just, again, with my limited, you're the master practitioner.
Yeah.
So do you have anything specifically like that?
Well, what I've done is I ended up, from Dr. Matt James, he had a high level of this 5-step sales strategy that he kind of collaborated from his network. He found about 5 or 6 guys that had closed over 100 million, and he kind of looked for the strategy, right? The foundation belief of NLP is there's no such thing as a bad person, just bad behaviors and bad strategies. And the analogy I was going to share with you, our conscious, unconscious mind. Think of us as a smartphone. In order for us to work, you have to load an operating system, the unconscious mind. In order to have productivity, you have to load an app, the conscious mind. So we always interact at an application level. Okay. But the application only works just as effective as the operation system. So our programming is done by the age of 7 to 13, and then we test it. That's why teenagers are assholes. Because they take their beliefs and their values and they start testing the world to see how true they are.
I just got to ask, when does that stop?
I don't, it depends.
Okay.
Mine are 13 and 16, so I'll let you know.
I'm not going to comment.
So often, when people are hitting walls or getting self-sabotage, it's because they've got an operating system that's not applicable with the application they're trying to apply. So if they're having, making money, losing money, making money, losing money, they've got a subconscious belief of the operating system it's a limiting belief. And that's where Master Practice, I learned with MER, we can go in and remove the limiting beliefs, reprogram it for successes, and imprint strategies from people that are already successful. So for me, like the 5-step sales strategy has been awesome, and before we start rapport, I teach the whole I representations, how people process data.
Nice.
And it's made a huge, all the salespeople I've worked with, even through Zoom, just watching their eye patterns, and then when you see them go up, you do a visual reference. And and I've even done it with me. When I'll be I love to do metaphorical stories in my coaching. They'll be explaining a situation, and I'll share a personal story of my life, and I'll watch their eye patterns. And as soon as I get done, and if they're going up, I'm like, well, what did you see in that story? Or what specifically did you hear that's coming up for you? If I see them go down, it's is there anything on that list you still need? Are you processing something, or what are you feeling? And it's weird because as soon as you see them in that feeling stage, what are you feeling right now? All of a sudden they vomit, what they got behind there, and you just, because as a coach, you want them to coach themselves, and you kind of have to guide them. Sometimes you need to teach them, but if you're teaching them more and allowing them to grow, then you're not doing them any service. So a lot of times when I share stories, I want to get clarity, because I know what I wanted, the intention I wanted out of that story, but I want to know what they really got.
Yeah, I have a lot of conversations with Laura, and it's interesting that you say that. Laura and I collaborate, and we're partners in life and in the business, and it's interesting is my storytelling hasn't been refined to the point that is, and it's for some reason, and as she talks with me, it's my mind is I'm 5 steps ahead of where my mouth is sometimes, and I can't catch up, and it's you went from here to there, how'd that go? I'm I told the whole story, and so sometimes even myself, I got to slow down and to get from point to point.
And one thing I did learn is I went back and just did a lot of a review on the processing. Feely people, you need to slow down.
I'm a feely guy.
And a couple of my clients, they're female salespeople, top performers, in the top 2 of the company, both feely people. And I know when we're having our coaching calls, I have to slow down because they're looking for the feeling. How's it going to make them feel? If I were to do this or have this conversation, and they're processing the feelings as I'm trying to tell the stories, but I really have to slow down and allow them to absorb that, right? And with that, and if I'm going fast, because I like to talk fast, and I can lose them, right? So just being consciously aware that that I need to slow down and be present. So I love the analogy of the smartphone with our conscious unconscious mind, because one of the stories I share with people is 22 years ago, I installed this app called Marriage. And as Marriage, the app has been upgraded, the unconscious, my beliefs, my stories, my shit has had to be let go or updated. 4 years after marriage, we installed the app called Kids. Now I've got to make sure is my unconscious mind prepared to raise kids successfully the way I want to. So then I have to keep going back into my unconscious mind, looking at the operating system. Is this suitable for the outcome I want in this app with my kids? So it's
the analogy of the smartphone, frankly, is it's evergreen. We're not going to be without smartphones in our life unless we end up with a data chip in our ear and have toilet. Never mind, that's a bad joke. But no, but it's really interesting because it's people, her parents that are 70, 80 have a smartphone. Kids, how old were your kids when they had smartphones?
They were.
So that is cross-generational, cross-everything gap. That's a common language.
But how many times have you gone to the App Store to download an app? It's your operating system's not compatible. You must update your operating system. People are like, well, I'm going to be a VP of sales. It's oh crap. You might have to update your operating system. There might be some beliefs of what that title is empowered with. And if you don't update your belief system, you're not going to be successful at that current position.
Well, and that's really interesting that you say that, is because we work with executives, and we're actually launching a program called the Emerging Leader Program. It's a jumpstart, and it's basically a condensed, slam dunk, go for it. And how many times have you seen somebody get into a role that they have excelled here, just like you're saying. Now they get put to this role, and they're not the shining star they used to be, and are they vulnerable or open enough to even ask for help?
Right.
And so upgrade your software. I'm going to implement
That's
that.
the operating system. That's where I'm grateful, because having the MER, having that hypnotic understanding, it's just a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did it with my kid. You know, when my kid got released from a softball team she thought was the thing that was going to get her to her destination. You know, we just took an analogy, we just took a conversation, and she started blaming everybody. And you know, I asked her right then, it's like, hey, right now you're triggering a strategy, you're blaming everybody else for a current situation. Is that strategy going to get you to where you want? And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, where do you want to be? She's like, I want to be playing college ball in 5 years. Great. So us blaming others today, is that going to get you to that goal? No. I said, well, then what do we need to do? We need to imprint a strategy. So just having a conversation with her, I can imprint a strategy, is we need to find another team that's going to suit you, that's able to coach you, because she's dyslexic. And ironically, within 3 weeks, we found a coach who has no kids on the team and professionally is a diversity coach.
That's awesome.
So he's like, dyslexic? Oh, we need to work on our call signs differently. We need to make special cards. And he's going above and beyond to make sure she's capable to read the call signs to be able to be a catcher for his team. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's great.
It all works out, right?
Now that you've done Master Prac and your NLP sales, implementing all that, what do you see as next steps for yourself? Where are you going? How do people find you?
Yeah, so when the web page gets completed, it's tapmental.io. I do have a secondary from consulting, davegoodall.com. Right now, I'm trying to lean into those corporations with small sales teams that want to understand how language patterns impact our sales. You know, we consciously try to sell, and as we learned from Master Practice, we go into the details. We actually get people to put on the brakes. So just the simple eye patterns, the eye movements. You know, I've got a 5-step sales strategy that I've been working with VP sales teams.
Awesome.
And then through that, I've been coaching the leaders, the execs, and then those that really want to take it to the next level, we imprint MER, that mental emotion release.
Yep.
That's where we dive into that unconscious mind. I know you've been through it. I've been
I have.
through it. Laura's been through it. That's a game changer. When you can get rid of your own crap. I'll share a quick story. I've got a client that I work with, and she's been through the MER. She'll start to bring crap back to the call. And last week I brought up a YouTube video of a dung beetle rolling around a ball of poo. I was like, so every time she comes in and she starts up with some of that stuff, I'm like, wait, hold on a minute, I got a video for you. I was like, this is you. And she's bringing her crap to the call. I was like, this is the stuff we let go of. When are you gonna let go of it, right? So it's really being impactful.
We have to want to.
Yeah, you have to want to let it go. You know, there was areas where you could tell she didn't want to let it go because it's so habitual that it's like, by letting this go, then who am I?
Go.
Well, it allows you to get to the core of you, because once you get rid of the 5 negative emotions or any overbearing limiting beliefs, you get to the core of you. I mean, we're all here for a purpose,
Right.
to provide and contribute. And
Yes.
and when you're walking with your big ball of poo every day,
Yeah.
it blocks your sight from seeing what your impact is supposed to be.
Great. So, and these talks, so we've been doing them through the month of November, and interviews, and this is the first one we're actually doing face to face, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. We're cross country. I happen to be out here visiting family, and just so good to see Dave and meet his family, and it's just been wonderful. So, thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.